So what's been really cool lately is I've been having a lot of conversations with very like-minded people. And what I wanted to do was just be very transparent about what are my ideas, what are the things I'm working on, because they are very aligned with a lot of you who are writing into me. And I want to just make sure I'm just crystal clear about where I'm at and what I'm working on and where I'm developing so that, for you as well, you can see similarities and also make suggestions, right? That's what these comments are for as well, is for people to share ideas or thoughts around how things can be improved or maybe what could be garbage, etc. And so that's what this video is about. This is going to be a really long, boring video of me talking about my interests and where I'm looking to develop. So please, like, if that doesn't sound appealing to you, just stop watching the video here because I hate wasting people's time. But for those of you who are super into this stuff like I am, and you're like, we could build this, or what about developing that? You're going to get a lot from this. And the first thing I want to say is, so a lot of you, a lot of what your thoughts are, those of you who've written in, you might see some elements of those here. Just be aware that the only reason I'm showing that is because this is a direction I'm looking to go anyway. Like, this is stuff I was going to share with the community anyway. I am not going to share anybody's personal ideas here on this channel. As I said to somebody this morning, I respect the trader's journey, right? I respect it because it's hard. And you have to find an edge. And when you do find an edge, you need to protect it because, trading is a zero-sum game. If you're winning, someone else is losing. Full stop. And the one thing about this channel that's quite, I would say, unique, the one thing that about myself in this channel, which is quite unique, is that I don't mind sharing what I'm doing because I love the hunt more than I do the execution of it. Right? I haven't placed a trade in a long time. I closed all of my crypto positions when the market was just too hyped. And now that the market's dropped, etc., a lot, now I'm looking at really good technologies that I could trade into or invest into as well. So, so that's how I am. That's just the animal you have here, but I prefer the hunt. I love the analytics, right? I love the quant side, but I also have an air of realism here where I know that this needs to be executable. And that's what I just want to keep developing in. So just bear all of that in mind, right? So I'm not going to share anybody's personal ideas here. Any conversations I have with anybody offline, those are private. But I do want to share my ideas around where I'm looking to take things because that's part of what the channel's about. It's about being transparent. So I've got some pictures up here just to make this video slightly less boring for you. But we've got triangular arbitrage as the first topic, right? So there's now a course out on triangular arbitrage that I put together. And it took me a long time to figure out how to make it work because there was nothing. There really was nothing. I come from a finance background, so I knew what triangular arbitrage was from a Forex perspective, but not how to program it. When I did the course on it, it just brought me so much joy because so many people I can see actually had the same thoughts and struggle, and now they have a blueprint they can follow. It might not be the best way of doing it, but I'm sure they'll improve on it. Now that's great. But what does that mean? That means that there's exponentially higher competition now. There have been, I think something like there's a few hundred people that have done that course on triangular arbitrage. And these guys and girls are really smart. I know because I hear from them. These are really clever people, much more smart than I am. And I can promise you they're going to do more intelligent things with those algorithms and they're going to build on it. So how does one now improve and gain an edge in triangular arbitrage? How can I remain competitive and bring tools to crypto wizards? Because our community is still really small, and because it's small, that gives us an advantage. How can I keep developing stuff which is just like next level where people go, how did you do that? Well, my intention in this video here is to show you the how I plan on doing it. Which kind of seems counterintuitive because someone else might do it. And you know what? That's okay. But this is what I want to do. So with triangular arbitrage, the first thing is let's try to stay, first of all, within one exchange. Because when you have to transfer a coin outside of the blockchain, say between, DeFi and CeFi, that creates a whole host of problems for a trader, right? So all of this needs to be built with execution in mind, right? Anyone can get really clever with algorithms, right? Executing is really what's difficult. So how do we do that? So the first thing is, to get your ranking of coins. So all coins, and this is how RBDex works today already, by the way, so this won't be new. But get like all available trading coins. I take like the top 1,000, but for example, on Polygon, there's like 13 or 14,000 cryptos. So the first thing is to get the liquidity for all those cryptos. What are they? What are their contract addresses? How liquid are they? Because the more liquid they are, the chances are the more opportunity there'll be with depth, because depth is important, not price. Depth is important. So with depth, to get into a trade and actually make a material amount of money that's actually meaningful to someone, right? So that's the first thing. So that kind of doesn't change. So you get that list of coins that's ranked, and you make that a static list. You refresh it like once a week or whatever. Like, it doesn't need to be kept up to date every minute. It just doesn't. So you get that list. But then, you have now thousands of pairs which are triangulatable, right? They can be triangulated into a trade. Well, that is really computationally very heavy to do, is to work out what are all the possible trading pairs. It takes a while for that to run at scale. It takes a long time. And so again, what you would do is, instead of having, the algorithm I have today doing that, what I'm learning about are different search algorithms. So data structures and search algorithms. And so in my spare time, I promise you, I'm actually on my phone. I'll get into bed and I'll get my phone and I'll just punch in something that, would put my fiance to sleep. But if it would put my fiance to fall asleep, it's probably worth me watching it from a tech perspective. So I'll get my phone and I will learn about, data structures and algorithms and, graph search, etc. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, are there smarter algorithms that can do this a lot faster? So that's one thing. The second thing is the programming language. Up until now, predominantly for backend stuff like this, I've been using Python and sometimes JavaScript. Python and JavaScript are high-level languages, right? They, in my opinion, are exceptionally good programming languages. And if you're watching this and you don't code and you want to learn to code, start with Python. Full stop, just start with Python. It's one of the most simple programming languages to learn comparative to others. But here's where I need to go next. For many reasons, I want to learn Rust, and I'm going to do a different video on why I want to learn Rust, because I think it's going to help other people who are in the same predicament as me. But I'm learning Rust. Rust is, in terms of speed, it's comparable to something like C++, right? Which is what any trading software usually is written in, because speed is important. Speed is a weapon. So Rust is something that I want to develop in here as well. That's going to help with speed. Improving the search algorithm is going to help with that too. But now you have the problem of actually getting the prices, right? So you've got your triangulatable pairs here, and you've got all of those worked out. Well, now you need to know the depth of each of those in terms of the prices. So how do you do that? Because there's a number of problems. Number one, you're going to have call limits. How many calls can I make to the blockchain in any given minute, hour, day, month, etc.? And so you have to stay within those limits. And so the idea here is to, number one, use Rust to run concurrency or run things in parallel. And so, to have multiple calls all happening at the same time within one program. That's one. But that's only going to take you so far. And so how do you break that up even more? Well, then what you need is a lot of these bots doing that. So you need a lot of programs running, on different machines with different API links to the nodes, etc., so that you have a vast array of call limits that you're not hitting, all going on at the same time. Now that presents a problem. That presents a problem of cost, because that's not going to be cheap. Using up computing costs money. Crypto wizards cost money. Just one of the servers, the Dino servers I'm running on Crypto Wizards, and without it, the machine learning won't work because the machine learning needs a lot of memory, etc. One of those is $250 a month, just one. And so, when you think about this, when you're now looking to scale, to scale like with loads of computational stuff, then you're then having to look at, Amazon Web Services, or what are you going to use to host that on? and what's the cost of that and all of that stuff. But nonetheless, my hope is that Crypto Wizards by that point will have enough members to pay for that development, for that to happen, so we can keep improving the platform, right? As Crypto Wizards develops, the better stuff we can afford to put on the platform. It's that simple. It's one of the reasons why we now have FMP as a data provider on the platform. And thank you, FMP, by the way, for all your help as well, if you're watching this. So that's that's the crux of that. That's how you solve that problem. So far, if you've done that, you've developed something really valuable, because you have an algorithm that can run, that can get prices like every minute, right? That have depth on them as well. All you then need is one other algorithm to sort of put that all together and to say, right, here's ranked in order of liquidity, what I call the tickets, right? So here's a ticket. And then you could bolt onto that a flash loan type system, right? So a lot of people are interested in flash loans because they've seen other people on YouTube talking about it, etc. Furu Combo. So I won't mention your name, but you know who you are. You've mentioned that to me a number of times as well, or a few of you. So you've mentioned that to me once. A few of you have mentioned that a number of times. That type of thinking, and you can use something like money Legos to connect all these different things together. So there are a lot of ways to then execute that. My view is, if I'm going to build Crypto Wizards to be able to do that, what I'd like to do is kind of develop like a test net to prove that triangular arbitrage kind of works, number one. To see, is there a way to develop a test net basically to test that ticket, to see did that arbitrage work? And if it did, then show it on the platform. So then, members, when they're turning up, what they're seeing is they're seeing an arbitrage opportunity, which is like seriously hot. Now, the downside of this is now that it's super efficient, it's all about speed. So already I get a lot of people writing in about, hey, do you have an API? And I don't want to provide an API because I want the platform to be fair for all right now, right? If I provide an API, it renders everything else useless to everyone else. That's not fair. But in the future, having an API is actually going to make sense. And probably what RBDex would turn into is an API. That's just how it is. And then it's going to become about speed. And then what you're going to find is everyone then knows this algorithm, they know it can be done. And so what they're going to do is they're going to build it for themselves, rendering it useless again, by which time the platform would have moved on to something else. This is just the way it is, right? And like I said, trading is a zero-sum game. And you might ask, well, why build these things that become useless once people can have them? Well, because I love doing it, right? I love doing it. Like I say, I enjoy the hunt. This is what I love doing. I love the analysis. Today I'm going to be doing some analytics on IPOs for the channel, and I literally can't wait to do it. So I love doing it, and it helps me become more skilled. If I get to learn Rust out of doing this, trust me, people on the platform are going to benefit so much, because I can then redevelop Crypto Wizards to use WebAssembly and be much faster and even more performant, etc. So, there's so much cool stuff that you can do just by going on this journey. So that's triangular arbitrage. And then in terms of statistical arbitrage, what became very clear to me doing the course on statistical arbitrage, where we actually build a bot, is that execution really is everything. Like, it's everything, right? So you can find triangular arbitrage opportunities, but when you're paying, market taking fees because you were an aggressive buyer or seller, i.e. you are, placing a market order on the order book, that dramatically counts against you. And in the course, I actually go through the math, right? I don't do the math itself. I just give people the spreadsheet, but I show what the math results to. The minute that you have any kind of edge taken away from you, it costs you. It literally could mean losing all of your account balance. And that's why 95% of traders lose. The math is why 95% of traders lose. And anyone who tells you otherwise either doesn't know what they're talking about or they haven't traded. The more that eats away from your capital, including the spread and the trading fees, the less buying power you have. The less buying power you have, the harder it is to grow your capital. It's math. And none of us think like that intuitively. And so until you go and look at it and you see those numbers, you realize how important this actually is. So I have a very strong opinion on that. Of course, you might disagree, and please, again, I'm not precious. Feel free to disagree there in the comments. It's helpful for others. And correct me, because I'm not a pro at everything. I'm not an expert at anything, actually. Help others identify where I'm getting stuff wrong. But the statistical arbitrage side aside, statistical arbitrage, my idea here is, how can I build something which can execute on the order book extremely well, right? And so somebody who wrote into me, really cool guy, wrote in talking about development. I don't want to talk more than that because it's a private, again, I want to keep those, honor those conversations. But, the topic came up about limit orders, and I said, dude, we're totally on the same page. Getting limit orders filled is like super crucial. So how do you do that? Well, two ideas. One, reinforcement learning. So, reinforcement learning applied to trading is one thing, and I'm finding learning reinforcement learning challenging, because I'm not really putting the focus on it that I should. And it's not one of those things you can sort of half-ass, if that makes sense. It's something you need to really understand inside out, I feel, if you're going to apply it to finance. So I get the gist of how it works and what it does, but the algorithms themselves are something I'm learning, and I'm learning them in Python. Probably then I'll transpose from Python to Rust for performance. But we're looking at a reinforcement learning agent that looks at an order book and it analyzes the order book. It can see, I will have the data compute what must have been a cancelled order, etc. So looking at cancellation, supply and demand, and looking at that, not only the sequence of that, but the point in time of what it looks like at any given point in time. And having a reinforcement learning agent learn how to predict whether it can get an order filled or not. That to me, honestly, that to me should be worth like $100,000. Not that I'm going to charge any money for that, but the idea here is that if you could do that, right, you have something which can almost guarantee that you'll get a limit order filled. You've now avoided so much costing, and you can now, enter and exit positions with confidence. And if it doesn't work the first time round, there's like a 90% probability it'll work on the next time round, etc. If you can do that and you can get a market making rebate, and I think FTX maybe is still offering market making rebates, your strategy can be 50-50 and you're probably still going to be profitable. Probably, or 51-49, right? So when you combine something like reinforcement learning on the execution with something with an edge like statistical arbitrage, well, how can you not be profitable with that? So my view there is that's how to stack the chips in your favor. Now, reinforcement learning maybe isn't the right approach. Maybe the better approach is just to, run this through an XGBoost or a light GBM or a logistic regression, and get some kind of probability of 0 or 1 or anywhere in between of how confident that model is that an order, should get filled on the bid side or, the ask side, etc. And so if it's saying, yeah, it should get filled, on the ask side, then okay, now's a good time not to place, an order to get filled at the bid, for example. So that in itself, it opens the door to high frequency trading, but it's kind of pairing non-high frequency trading like statistical arbitrage or long-term trading with statistical arbitrage with high frequency trading to ensure you're getting the best possible price. And for me, that's a very exciting idea because I've been wanting to learn reinforcement learning properly for some time. I have spent many hours on it already, but in reality, I know that if I can figure this out, there's so many other things I would have learned, and there's so many other things I can develop and build. And so every project I have, there's always a selfish personal gain for me in it. Like, what can I learn out of this? That's why I do it, because I enjoy the learning side. Now, I haven't spoken about machine learning in terms of, from a trading perspective outside of this. And I haven't spoken about momentum. Another proven way to make money is momentum. And I don't think it's any different in crypto. I think there's a lot of opportunity for shorting in crypto, and making really good money shorting. And so, I'll do at some point, when I'm ready with those projects, I'll do some separate videos on, the momentum side and the machine learning side. But at least for the time being, this will give you an idea of what I'm working on. What am I looking at? Here in my spare time, what am I doing? This is what I'm doing. I hope you found it useful. Definitely, if you agree, disagree, like, dislike, no problem. Until the next video, take care and talk soon.